Hey guys, what's going on? It's Nick Bissett here with another how-to video from FTGU Media. And in this video, I want to talk to you guys about photos. It's probably one of the most accessible ways for anyone to create content, especially considering we have cameras everywhere around us, whether it's on our computers, our tablets, our phones. Most people have some capacity of taking photos at a basic level. And to take good photos, you don't need a $10,000 camera, $10,000 lens, and a $10,000 set of lights. It helps, definitely, but it's not the end all be all for creating great images. So I want to give you guys 4 tips on how to improve your photo game, whether you're just starting out with your iPhone or you have a little bit of experience with your DSLR or mirrorless. This video is just going to give you a little more tips on how to step up your game and just get better photos for better engagement, better reach, whatever your cause is that you're taking the photos for, this should help. So pretty simple really when it comes down to some of the things you need to keep in mind at a basic level with photography. Like I was saying, we can go for hours about stuff as we go up sort of the totem pole of skill. But in this case, let's keep it at the bottom, let's keep it simple. So 4 tips. First tip is gonna be think and take time. The extra 15 seconds to a minute that you take to think about the photo you're taking could save you hours in the long run. Framing. Again, having an iPhone doesn't mean you're gonna take bad photos, it just means you gotta think a little bit differently when it comes to that. And your framing is gonna be everything. And lighting. If people can't see your pictures, well, good luck. Breaking the rules, like, we've all heard of rule of thirds or leading lines, and those help creating cool images. But at the end of the day, if you see something cool, take a picture of it. Or if you see a cool scene in your head, create it. Because at the end of the day, it's art. Despite what people want to say, whether it's a photo of you for your brand or picture of your dog. It's all art at the end of the day. It's subjective, and if it means something to you, I call it art. So let's get in, and I'm going to show you some of the examples of some of my work and how I've used some of these tips just to step up my game. So let's jump into it. All right, guys, so we're in Lightroom. This is my preferred program to use when editing. Personal preference, I'm not an Adobe advocate by any means. They don't pay me. So I'm not gonna be saying go out and get their products. It works for me, I like it, I've been using it for years, but there's a ton of other options out there, so feel free to do a Google search and see what's out there. But anyway, let's get into what I was actually talking about. So, first rule, and again, most important rule, think and take time. So, on my screen, you can see I have this image. So this is the Gooderham building in Toronto. It's a downtown sort of architectural staple in the downtown area. And it's a beautiful building. So me and a friend of mine went down during a snowstorm and decided that we wanted to capture some really cool images at this location. And it's one of those things that you can see in the image, there's no cars, there's barely any people on the street. I almost captured like a ghost town scenario. And the only reason I got that was with patience. I stood there for 20 minutes in the snow, rain or snow, it was wet, I was cold, it was a terrible experience, I hated it. But because of my patience, I was able to get this image. And I had an image in my head, and this is the image that I had in my head, and I was so happy to have gotten it. So like I said, taking that extra time just to step it up by making sure there's no one there, or there's no cars, or the lighting's right, or whatever it is, just take the time. Take the time, because you can always come back the next day and do it again. Maybe not if you're getting paid for it, but different conversation. But at the end of the day, take your time, because had I not taken the time and been like, oh, I'll take it, and a little bit of people and a little bit of cars, it's okay. But that wasn't the image I had in mind. I wanted to create a ghost town. And this is probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Toronto, even during a snowstorm. If you live here, people go out no matter what. So patience is everything. So yeah, I wouldn't have got that shot if I didn't wait. So again, just take your time. So the next tip is framing and kind of creating more interesting scenes, because you want to make interesting photos. If it's not interesting, people aren't going to look at it. It's a pretty simple equation. So I'm going to show you a more simple image, and then I'm going to show you the version with the sort of the better framing, if you will. So the first version, you can see we have our lovely model here. She's standing in front of a wall of succulents. it looks nice. The lighting's good and got some nice bokeh and stuff, but it's not that exciting. Like, I don't see this popping out at me on a feed or for anything like that. Good sort of all around good photo, but nothing exceptional. So getting into the conversation of framing and making it more interesting, this is in the same location. I maybe walked 3 feet over to a different area of the building we were in. And I was able to create a completely different vibe and feel out of these images. And it all had to do with simply framing and sticking stuff in the way of the camera. So I shoot on a professional camera, so I have the luxury of being able to play with depth of field and stuff like that. But even your iPhone has the capability of picking up on that kind of stuff. So don't shy away from it. Like, get in there and explore it. But as you can see, simply by adding a leaf in front of her, made this photo so much more interesting. We now have some more interesting lighting. We have half of her face lit with this nice sort of softbox look, and the other half of her face is sort of this darker, shadowed look, kind of creating an interesting split between the two sides. The leaf as well sort of draws your eyes in towards her face and that nice line of shadow that I created using it. And really adds a lot more depth to the image. So I'm more likely to stop at this just because there's a lot more going on. And like I said, same model, same location, same time, same camera, nothing changed. The only thing that changed is I walked 3 feet and found a more interesting frame to shoot in. So I think that's one of the probably the best examples of doing that. And another application would be if you're taking a picture of a product you've created and you want to do some simple shots for Instagram. Well, don't just throw it on a table and take pictures of it. Think about the product and some of the elements that it might be around. So maybe you're doing I don't know, a mouse pad series or something like that. And you're probably better off putting it in front of a computer with a mouse, maybe a notebook and a pen to create the atmosphere of work or different things like that. So framing and adding stuff into the frame is really gonna step up your game quite a bit. Next is lighting. Yeah, like if I can't see your photo, like I was saying earlier, well, good luck trying to get it out into the world. And so I chose this picture. This is a skyline picture of Toronto I captured from Toronto Islands. It is a great shot. And the reason why this is such a cool shot is the lighting. I mean, we can go open up Google right now and find 10,000 images of Toronto skyline or any city skyline. A lot of them look the same, but what really stands out is the images from people who took the time to think about the lighting, the time of the lighting, and executing on it. So for this image, I waited until golden hour, which is generally in about an hour or so before the sun actually goes completely below the horizon. So as you can see in this image, we have this nice golden hue from the sun actually cutting down into the horizon line and creating a different spectrum of light. I'm not an astrologist, so I'm not gonna go down into that, but it definitely helps for photographers to know this kind of stuff at a very basic level. So you can see that golden hue just casting on the buildings as well, because it wasn't the brightest point in the day. I was able to actually keep my camera settings at a nice level and get a really nice even lighting in the sky, so we can get some really cool depth of the clouds and all that kind of stuff. So you can, as you can see, the lighting really makes a difference. Because for me, this is one of my better city skyline shots, and I've taken 100 like so many other people out in the world have. And this one's always stood out to me. And I think the biggest reason why is the lighting. Just because that waiting, again, timing, going back to the timing piece, getting the timing right to get the perfect lighting, it all kind of comes together, really makes a difference for getting the best shot possible. And last but not least, and my favorite rule, is break the rules. Art is subjective. It's one of the most subjective things we have in humanity. So don't let other people kind of dictate that for you. Obviously, we want to make sure that like your fingers aren't in the image if you're taking a photo, like your lenses are clean, like the fundamentals, obviously. When it comes to creating the image, there's no rules. If it looks cool and it's interesting and you enjoy it, go for it, post it, and like spread it out there, you know, do your thing with it. Because at the end of the day, art is subjective. So let's get into it. So I have a picture of my friend Rashad here. We're downtown Toronto, just on like one of the busy streets down there. And I wanted to create, again, a cool portrait, but I wanted to make it way more interesting than just snapping a picture and getting a nice soft bokeh in the background. So what I did is using a on-camera flash, I was able to create this crazy image with all the lights swooping around and all that kind of stuff. And again, this image follows absolutely no rules, and it's one of my favorites. It's probably one of the ones I've gotten the most compliments on as well, because it really pushes that creative boundary and stops people's eyes when it comes to looking at the feed. So don't follow rules. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time maybe to get comfortable with this one as you're sort of, getting used to creating images. But once you're comfortable, break the rules, throw it all away. All right, guys, now that you have these 4 awesome tips, what I want you to do is go out and shoot. That's it. Start taking pictures. Because the best thing to do with photography is take images to get better. I've been doing this for, I don't know, 6 years. I've probably taken over 60,000 images and I'm still in the beginning. So get out there and shoot.